Good afternoon, and welcome back to our Capstone defense. Today we have our first defense presented by Mr. J.C. Habetz, and he's defending the following thesis. People should spend more time engaging and experiencing the gifts of the outdoors rather than spending excessive amounts of time on technology. Please welcome Mr. Habetz.
The great outdoors. It's a great place to put yourself in. One of my favorite memories from the outdoors is early duck hunting with my dad and brother. It is a true blessing to wake up and watch the sunrise out of a duck blind. I would like for all of you to think of your favorite childhood memory. I believe that most of you would say that it took place outdoors. For instance, playing football with your friends, spending quality time with family, or going on a family vacation. Now I would like for all of you to think of yourself not having time for that memory. Do you think that those memories would be different if technology was more present in your life? Over the past 30 years, there have been both positive and negative consequences that have come from technology. For example, one positive thing is communicating with family members that live on the other side of the world or country. Technology was made as a tool for humans to better their day-to-day lives. However, over time, humans have abused technology in many different ways. One example is through social media. People resort to social media due to the lazy tendencies that technology has created for them. Most of these lazy tendencies were increased during COVID-19. A study done in the UK found that participants had an average of 7.2 hours per day of screen time during the pandemic. This high average was seen amongst younger adults below the age of 35, while on the other hand, participants over 65 didn't have such a problem. A study done of 248 Canadian families with young children reported increase in screen time in mothers, fathers, and children during COVID-19 at 74%, 61%, and 87% respectively. Moreover, a study conducted in China found that about 70% of 1,000 participants spent more time looking at screens after the COVID-19 outbreak. COVID-19 took a toll on not just Americans, but people across the world. For instance, in Poland, China, Turkey, and Canada, all had problems with the increase in screen time. In Canada, 87% of children had an increase in screen time during the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, most of this time was devoted to studies and school, but many hours were spent on entertainment and social media. As technology has gotten better over the past 30 years, we've become addicted to technology as a society. Society has made it a social norm to scroll on TikTok, Instagram, or Snapchat people constantly throughout the day. According to data from Data Reportal, Americans spend an average of 7 hours and 4 minutes looking at screens per day. This addiction isn't a problem for a specific age group in America. According to Medline Medical, American children ages 5 to 12 spend on average almost 3 hours a day watching TV. Considering all various types of technology that children use, they spend almost 5 to 7 hours a day on screens. Technology addiction has fluctuated over the past 3 years due to COVID-19 and the end to the pandemic. Now that the world is coming back to its normal ways, children and Americans in general are suffering because they were always plugged into screens during the pandemic. People should spend more time engaging and experiencing gifts through the outdoors rather than spending excessive amounts of time on technology. As kids get comfortable with technology, they tend to close themselves off from others and not want to experience the outdoors. A parent and journalist, Amy Williams, states in her article, Technology versus Nature, granted, technology does have a place and time in our children's lives. However, we need to step back and take a look at nature, to take a look at the benefits that nature provides that our children might be missing out when they're plugged in at all times. Outdoor play can give our children opportunities to develop their observational and creative skills which in return leads to higher scores on tests. Being outdoors can boost children's immune systems through exposure to good germs and bacteria that live in the dirt and ecosystem. Also, we can't forget about the healthy dose of vitamin D from the sunlight. She also explains that teens spend an average of 9 hours a day consuming media, which results in them being addicted to the media that they're consuming. Kelsey Weber, in her article, Dropping Technology and Returning to the Great Outdoors, states that children spend an average of 30 minutes a day playing outdoors. As technology advances, children are going to resort to their devices because they think it will quench their thirst for happiness. In previous generations, kids had fun while playing outside with friends, but in more recent years, kids spend so much time in front of screens and less time playing outside that it is becoming an issue for them on many different levels. This use of technology had an even greater effect on children during the stay-at-home order due to COVID-19. During COVID-19, American children ages 8 to 12 spent an average of 5 hours a day looking at screens. Children under 8 spent about half that time, and teenagers spent more than 7 hours a day on screens. One problem with technology addiction is due to the continuous quest for our attention from application companies. Stuart Wall, in his article, COVID-19 Made Our Technology Addiction Worse, It's Time to Do Something About It, that companies like Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat earn more advertising revenue the more frequently we use their products. He states again in his article, in their quest for our attention, some tech firms target the oldest parts of our brain, which UCLA physician Daniel Siegel calls the downstairs brain. The downstairs brain includes our brainstem, which controls our reactions, impulses, and strong emotions. The downstairs brain also has a part called the limbic system, which is a part of our brain involved in our behavioral and emotional responses. The more time we spend on technology, the more time our brains become emotionally attached to the advertisement which is being pushed out. Due to the continuous notifications that social media platforms push out, our brains have impulse reactions to these advertisements. These notifications can be very detrimental to little children. Eric Segment, an associate fellow with the British Physiological Society and a fellow of the Britain Roller Society of Medicine, says when a very small child gets hooked on tablets and smartphones, they may unintentionally be hindering their still developing brains. Too much screen time too soon, he says, is the very thing impeding the development of the abilities that parents are so eager to foster through the tablets. The abilities to focus, to concentrate, to lend attention, and to sense other people's attitudes and communicate with other people. Also to build a better vocabulary. All these abilities are harmed. We can already see the negative effects of the increase in screen time used today. For instance, teens ages 17 to 19 are having trouble communicating with peers. Most of these teens now are masters at keeping themselves occupied after school way until past their bedtimes. If they're not doing their homework, they're probably on their phones scrolling, sharing, or texting. Before teens had Instagram accounts, teens would keep themselves occupied while chatting on the phone or in person while hanging out. Now, as this might be seen as aimlessly hanging out, these teens were trying skills and succeeding in real-life situations and interactions that teens now are missing out on. However, teens now are having to deal with the consequences, such as communicating with people in real-life situations. Most teens now are learning how to communicate through screens rather than with another person. If teens could limit themselves to technology, to take a step back and take a look at the benefits that the outdoors can offer, their health can take a positive change. There are many key reasons why the outdoors improves our health. For instance, it can improve our attention and memory. It can also be better for our sleep, and it's also better than screens because screens damage our eyes. One of the most influential people in the Catholic Church, and our patron, John Paul the Great, was a really big advocate for the outdoors. When he was a parish priest in Poland, he would take youth into the wilderness to kayak and have mass in the outdoors. One famous quote from St. John Paul the Great was, "If you speak to most popes, they'd say that they received their information from seminary. However, I receive my information from bringing young people out into the wilderness. Apps such as TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat are all free, but your time isn't. Your time is non-recoverable. Every time that you isolate yourself through technology, you are suffering because you are disconnected from the world. Limiting yourself to these types of apps and spending more time in outdoors can be the first stepping stones to beating technology addiction. Thank you.